Okay. Okay, here we are. We're live. It is 8 a.m. on another Friday morning for the Love Your Liver live stream number 9. I am Dr. Garrett Smith, also known as the nutrition detective around these YouTube parts. And we have some interesting stuff to go over today. For those of you who enjoy this, over at nutritiondetective.com, my main website, we have the Love Your Liver program that you can join, which is where you find out how to fix these things as a do-it-yourself thing from me. And that's also where you can find out how to work with me. Also, if you like this Q&A stuff, I do a weekly Q&A in my inner circle, and later people get in the advanced detox program, get to see that. I do that there, and that's where sometimes I've done anywhere from 2 hours to up to 6-hour marathon sessions. So if you like what you see here, I do a lot more of it in a lot more detail over in the network over at nutritiondetective.com. So anyway, let's get into it. What I always like to start with, I like to start with testimonials so people understand that this actually works. I have a really cool one. This is just super short. Somebody who has been doing this process with me since the start. Just to prove that if you haven't seen my video, vitamin A deficiency doesn't exist on this channel. We're going to be proving it as we have more and more people going on in this. We had one person who had started with this who had all sorts of health issues. She has now brought her vitamin A level down to 15, which is technically deficient, and her health problems just continue to go away. And then we have another gentleman today who is actually involved in the conventional medical world. We're having more MDs and more other people come to this program every day as they realize the fraud of nutrition that they've been sold. But anyway, this gentleman is in conventional medicine. His last vitamin A was, I believe, a 24 or a 25, which is, some people would say it's deficient, and some people would say, oh, it's barely okay. He's now at a 7.7, and his health problems continue to fade away. So it's okay, we've just been lied to. No big deal. No big deal. Just think of all the things we've been lied to about, and then realize that nutrition is probably the biggest one that we've been lied to about. So let's get into that testimonial. So this is a person who had been working, on the vitamin A detox program, the Love Your Liver program over at nutritiondetective.com. She had also been working with me directly on the nutritional testing and consultation packages where I analyze hair and blood to figure out what nutrients people need. And then she'd also been in the inner circle group over on the network. Here is her quote. "My dreams have returned, and with vivid detail and extraordinary adventures had in my dream life that I can remember in the morning. My skin is clear, a first in my 42 years, and I have really decreased overall chronic autoimmune inflammation. I feel my energy returning, more stable emotional life, no PMS, and my cycles are uneventful. I find that cravings for those high vitamin A foods have just gone away. I probably adhere to the diet at about 85% accuracy, not freaking out for anything that slips in when dining in friends' homes or outside my kitchen. With this success, I can't wait to see what new levels of health unfold in 2020. So this person, this was a year or more ago. Imagine where this person is now. So now we get into the people who might think, well, how do I show that vitamin A toxicity? Like, how do I show that I actually have this? So now I like to go over some of the research, because the haters and the doubters out there love to say, well, you can't prove this. And I say, well, that's kind of what I would say about needing vitamin A. Geez, did I just get rid of that email? Here, let me find it again real quick. This is somebody who is not on my program. Their significant other works with me, but this person was not doing anything I recommended, and they wanted to bring me some labs and say, hey, can you look at these and tell me what you think is going on? So I get the labs, and one of the first things they have on here is apolipoprotein B. Let me, just so I don't misspeak, let me just go and get the definition of apolipoprotein B. Apolipoprotein B100, also called apolipoprotein B, is a protein that is involved in the metabolism of lipids and is the main protein constituent of lipoproteins such as very low density lipoprotein and low density lipoprotein, LDL, the bad cholesterol. Okay? VLDL is real bad. LDL is bad. Okay? So it's involved in the metabolism of these things and is the main protein constituent of the bad cholesterols. Okay, so that doesn't sound very good, right? Probably don't want too much of that. Okay. Here we have another statement here. High levels of ApoB correspond to higher levels of bad cholesterol, LDL and VLDL cholesterol, and are associated with a higher risk of heart disease. So generally, we would not want to do things that raised this. Does that make sense? Okay. So we have this paper. I'll plug this in here. We have, let me copy and paste it. Here is the paper. Regulation of human apolipoprotein A1 expression in CACO2, which is a gut in vitro, like a petri dish type gut cell, and HepG2 cells, those are liver cells, again, like petri dish in vitro type stuff, by all trans retinoic acid and 9-cis retinoic acid. Okay, all trans retinoic acid, if you didn't know, is Retin-A. That is the exact same compound as Retin-A. And anybody who tries to say that natural and that it's all this, your body makes Retin-A. If you eat vitamin A, you can go and look at the biochemistry. Your body turns some of that vitamin A into Retin-A, all trans retinoic acid. And the other one is 9-cis retinoic acid, which is Accutane. Your body takes some of the vitamin A you eat and turns it into Accutane. This is biochemistry 101. This is not something I'm making up. And if you think that there's a chemical difference between the 9-cis retinoic acid, the Accutane, and the Retin-A that you make in your own body and the stuff that is put into the pills, I'm sorry, chemists would say there is no difference between the two things. So you can go argue with the chemists, okay? I wanted to show, because so we're talking about apolipoproteins, right? Here they say in CACO2 cells, the gut cells, all trans and 9-cis retinoic acid increase, this is just a funny thing considering what's going on lately, increase luciferase activity, mRNA content, and protein secretion by 40 to 80% above control. Strikingly, in HepG2 cells, the liver cells, all trans and 9-cis retinoic acid caused a more marked stimulation of luciferase activity by 100 to 150%, but a weaker increase of mRNA content and protein secretion by 25 to 30%. So it was less of an increase on those two, but still an increase. Interesting, right? Luciferase. Don't know where you might have heard luciferase being talked about lately, but retinoic acids, which retinoic acids have been used as chemotherapy. This is known. They've been used as adjuvants to certain types of pokes. And yeah. And now we know that they stimulate, they actually do most of their studying of luciferase with, they use retinoic acid to study it. That's a weird connection. Okay. Now, here we go. Here's the one with the apolipoprotein B. Median age of the 4,117 patients, 72% male, was 62 years. Apolipoprotein B and apolipoprotein A1 were higher among patients in the upper versus lower tertiles of vitamin A. Let me just say that again. Apolipoprotein B and apolipoprotein A1 were higher among patients in the upper versus lower tertiles of vitamin A. Okay, so more vitamin A in the blood, more apolipoprotein B, and A1, which is associated with more heart disease. There you go. So we got that from his labs. Okay, so we got apolipoprotein B. We have a connection to vitamin A there. Then we go to, cortisol. I kind of went over this last week. Cortisol. I went over last week how Cushing's disease, which is a disease of hypercortisolism, is treated, at least they tried it in the research, by giving them retinoic acid. So when your adrenals were making too much cortisol, right? Not too many people have this problem. But when they have too much cortisol, what do they give them? They give them the active form of vitamin A. They give them a form of retinoic acid to smash down their cortisol. Okay, this person's cortisol was a 6.34 in the morning with the reference range of 3.09 to 22.40. So in the morning, you want your cortisol levels to be higher. It helps you wake up. Okay? They use retinoic acid to smash down cortisol. So imagine if you had normal cortisol and then you got vitamin A toxicity. What do you think it would do to your cortisol? It would smash it down. I went over this last week. His level was 6.34. The low end of the range is 3.09. It goes up to 22.4. So he's way on the low normal. Just a coincidence, but I just thought I'd bring that up. Technically, he's not out of normal range, which normal range is mostly garbage once you understand the way lab statisticians decide what the ranges are. So then we go to ferritin. His ferritin was 527.9. It's pretty high. Just so you know, to maybe prove that my concepts are correct, I helped a gentleman who is in the network to get his ferritin from a 550-ish down to a 50-ish in 1 year with only 3 blood donations combined with the diet. 3 blood donations might bring somebody's ferritin down by 150 points. So then we start talking about where did the other 350 points drop on ferritin come from? Well, maybe it's because we figured out what the cause of all this is. So, ferritin, let's go into that now. We have a case here of, here's the paper. Oh, I didn't put the other one in there. Let me put those other 2 papers in there. I did that one. Here's the one on the apolipoprotein B. Yep, that's the right one. And then now I'll just, while we're here, I'll put in the one about this gentleman. The title is Vitamin A Toxicity in a Physical Culturist Patient, a Case Report and Review of the Literature. So, here we go at the very first part of this. Excessive intake of vitamin A may produce acute short-term or chronic long-term toxicity. We present a case of a young physical culturist man. That means he's very interested in like lifting, training, body composition, like low body fat, doing healthy things. He's trying to do healthy things, but usually it just means an obsession with your physical appearance. It's been my experience of modern day physical culturists. Anyway, we present a case of a young physical culturist man who was referred to our unit because of chronic liver disease of unknown origin. The patient had a history of increased vitamin A intake from natural sources. You might want to go watch my liver is toxic video and my cod liver oil is toxic videos on this channel. From natural sources with the addition of high dose of vitamin A supplements with the purpose of improving his muscular development. Our patient showed chronic liver disease with severe fibrosis, signs of portal hypertension, and marked hyperplasia of Edo cells. Those are some of the cells that store vitamin A. In conclusion, chronic vitamin A toxicity may produce severe liver damage and should be recognized in the differential diagnosis of chronic liver diseases. Just want to make sure these are researchers who went through the research. You know, that these are actually they're practitioners who went through the research. Here's their statement. Nevertheless, excessive intake of vitamin A may produce acute or chronic toxicity. Vitamin A can be consumed in foods, fortified products, and supplements. Consuming natural sources of this vitamin rarely results in chronic toxicity. Not true. with the exception of excessively high intake of carnivore liver on a continued basis. Make sure to go watch my liver video, the toxicity of liver video, okay? So he had a 25-year-old male patient referred to our liver unit because of ALT and AST elevations of more than 6 months length of unknown origin. Just so you know, that is one of the standards for diagnosing cholestasis, which is bile reflux into the blood. No history of alcohol, illegal drugs, or tobacco consumption. But he practiced physical culture and consumed a diet rich in meat and or liver. More than 1,000 grams per day. Well, I don't know if they're talking about just liver there, but they're saying he had 1 kilogram of liver a day. If that's true, I don't know if they're saying meat and liver is 1 kilogram a day, or if they're saying just liver is 1 kilogram a day. This dude is going to die soon. In order to improve his muscular development, he used to supplement his food intake with high doses of vitamin A, 220,000 units a day, and consumed steroidal anabolic drugs. His physical examination disclosed a slightly enlarged spleen. The laboratory findings included increased levels of alkaline phosphatases, 361 over a normal value of 240, AST 86, that normals up to 40, ALT 104, normals up to 40, and gamma glutamyl transpeptidase, also known as GGT, 392, normal being up to 50. I got this because he had high ferritin. Wait, why didn't that do the find? Here we go. Let's see. Ferritin was 406 nanograms per milliliter. So we have a gentleman here who has obviously caused himself severe liver damage. He ate lots of liver. He took vitamin A supplements in the past. It said he used to. But vitamin A toxicity in your liver doesn't just go away if you don't do anything about it. If you continue to eat lots of vitamin A, you don't get rid of vitamin A, you continue storing more. And then his ferritin was 406, and he has all the diagnoses things of cholestasis here. Steroids were involved too. I can tell you, vitamin A causes cholestasis. It's in the research. I'm going to be doing a video on this at some point soon. Vitamin A supplements or natural causes cholestasis, and steroids cause cholestasis. This person was just damaging his liver from every single angle. And the people who want to think that just because he was eating natural liver, this was somehow protective and it didn't contribute, I'm sorry, you're completely wrong. And that's why they wrote up this case study, okay? Then we also have this other paper. One thing, there's a group out there, they like to think they have a protocol for addressing root causes, who advocates high vitamin A consumption as a way to fix iron toxicity or iron overload. And they obsess about it. They will have people donate blood so often that they will drive themselves anemic. And then when they're anemic, they will tell themselves that they're simply detoxing iron, and they make themselves sicker and sicker. If you go into the research, you can go and look at the research and find that one of the things they try to give children in, let's say, malnourished countries to improve their iron absorption is they will give them vitamin A. And the research out there seems to show that vitamin A increases iron absorption. Does that sound like it would be helpful for iron overload or iron toxicity? No, probably not. Then we just had that other gentleman who had iron overload, and he'd been taking a ton of vitamin A. And now we have this paper, Effective Iron and Retinoic Acid, the active form of vitamin A, on the control of transferrin receptor and ferritin in the human promonocytic cell line U937. Let me put this link in here. Let me find this line. Iron and retinoic acid both caused an increase in intracellular ferritin levels, approximately four times, and threefold, 3 times, respectively. while ferrioxamine, that's an iron chelator, reduced ferritin levels by approximately 2/3. The effect of iron and retinoic acid added together did not differ greatly from that of each agent alone. Oh, these results show that changes in ferritin and transferrin receptor caused by treatment with retinoic acid are similar to those induced by excess iron. Let me read that again. These results show that changes in ferritin and transferrin receptor caused by treatment with retinoic acid, active vitamin A, part of all vitamin A you eat turns into this, are similar to those induced by excess iron. Gosh, so weird that you'd have these people out there obsessing about their ferritin levels and trying to get their ferritin levels down to 0, and yet they are continuing to overdose themselves on vitamin A from natural sources. They advise eating liver. They advise eating cod liver oil. And if you start feeling bad, what do they have you do? They have you take more vitamin A sources. Sound like a train wreck to anybody? Vitamin A increases your iron absorption. Vitamin A increases ferritin. Now, if you are out there and you have low iron or low ferritin, I'm going to tell you that that's a whole nother situation. You probably have even more significant liver issues that need to be dealt with. And yes, we can bring up your ferritin and your iron. We do it by fixing your liver, which is the cause of the whole problem. The liver goes two ways. When people get liver problems, 95% is my estimation, go high, like high ferritin. 5% or less people go low ferritin. Those 5% or less people who go low ferritin are even sicker overall than the 95%. Okay. One of the things we know about pregnancy, we talk about cholestasis a lot. Pregnancy induces cholestasis in almost every woman these days. What do we see with pregnancy a lot? We see iron deficiency anemia. This is where their liver's getting even worse. It's not a good situation. It's a lot to explain. I don't have time to explain it all here. I go into stuff like this in the inner circle. So now let's go down another lab. I don't want to use up this whole time on it, but he had high sensitivity CRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein. He was at a 1.9, which is high. Oh, wait, I just killed one of my tabs on accident. There we go. Here's the paper, vitamin A supplementation, serum lipids, liver enzymes, and C-reactive protein concentrations in obese women of reproductive age. Let's go to the conclusion. Treatment with 25,000 units of 25,000 units a day of vitamin A induced a mild elevation in serum lipids, C-reactive protein, and liver enzymes in obese and non-obese women. Considering the other information about possible side effects of excess vitamin A, use of vitamin A in this dose and duration should be considered with caution. How long did they give it for? 4 months. In 4 months of giving them 25,000 units of vitamin D a day, or vitamin A a day, 4 months, they saw the blood lipids, we're talking cholesterol, triglycerides, that kind of stuff, C-reactive protein, a marker of inflammation, and liver enzymes went up. And again, folks, they're taking retinol palmitate. Retinol palmitate is not some magical synthetic form of vitamin A. It is the main form of vitamin A in cod liver oil. It is the main form of vitamin A in beef liver. Let me go find that. Let's just go retinol palmitate beef liver. I want to find a really good quote from a legit website. Healthline's pretty legit. They're fine enough. So Healthline overview of vitamin A palmitate. Vitamin A palmitate is a form of vitamin A. It's found in animal products such as eggs, chicken, and beef. It's also called preformed vitamin A and retinol palmitate. Vitamin A palmitate is available as a manufactured supplement. Are we clear? It's also found in eggs and beef and chicken and, okay. Cod liver oil. Well, let's do this. Let's do retinol palmitate. Oh, wait, here's a great one. Wait, I gotta find that. Is cod liver oil better than synthetic vitamin A? This is from consumerlab.com, which is very research-based. Is cod liver oil better than synthetic vitamin A? The vitamin A in fish oil is the same as the synthetic vitamin A in most supplements. Retinol palmitate. So it doesn't matter which you use. Cod liver oil is giving you retinol palmitate. And if you are actually out there believing anybody who says that the chemical form of retinol palmitate in foods is somehow magically different than the chemical retinol palmitate in supplements, you are being misled and lied to. And ask these people to go and show from a chemist that there is any difference in these forms, and they won't. They'll just keep saying, well, natural, this is the way God intended it. No, that doesn't fly. I'm sorry. Are they actually going to say that the form of sodium chloride that's found in, nature is different than the salt in your shaker? Is that what they're going to say? Because technically the salt in your shaker is a supplement form, right? Are you going to say that that's not natural? If you can dry salt from seawater and purify it and get sodium chloride, that somehow now that this is not natural? Don't get lied to, folks. So anyway, CRP goes up from vitamin A. Okay. What else do we have? Uric acid. Here's a fun one. Back in 1984, one of my heroes in this field, Anthony Mawson, wrote a letter to the editor of The Lancet called Hypervitaminosis A, Toxicity, and Gout, which is what high uric acid is associated with gout. Okay. Then he wrote another paper back in 1991 where he expanded upon this. Gout and vitamin A intoxication. Is there a connection? Here's the first line of it. Several lines of indirect evidence implicate vitamin A intoxication associated mainly with impaired renal function in the etiopathogenesis of gouty arthritis. Let me put these links in there. Oh, let me put in the cod liver oil. I got to get the Consumer Lab one. Where's the Consumer Lab one? There it is. Got that one. Then we go Anthony Mawson's old article on gout. And then we go his more recent paper on gout. He may have even done another one since then. I know he's done at least 2 on gout. So, does this person likely have vitamin A toxicity? Probably. What is their vitamin A? I didn't have a vitamin A test on this person because they came to me with these labs. I did not ask them for labs. Is their vitamin A level on a blood test? Probably going to be in the normal range. Yes. What does this person do for a living? They're actually, they have quite the, I don't know if they would call themselves a farmer, but they have quite the farmstead and they eat lots of eggs and raw milk. Raw milk doesn't protect you from vitamin A toxicity, folks. It doesn't. I'm sorry. And all milk contains vitamin A. whether it's natural or whether it's fortified. So if you drink lots of milk and you eat lots of eggs, you will probably get vitamin A toxic from natural vitamin A, which I go over in my other videos about how that can happen too. So that's all I have on the extra stuff for today. Let's get into some of these questions. Maggie asks, hi, Dr. Smith, do you think vitamin A is the root cause of preeclampsia? Well, this is where I'm going to explain something about vitamin A as an overall problem. I would have never said that, I didn't ever say, and I wouldn't have ever said that vitamin A is the root cause of all health problems. A simple, stupid example of this would be if somebody has back pain, and let's say in their back pocket, they always sit on a wallet this thick on one side and it tilts their hips and they sit all day and then they wonder why they have back pain. Obviously, vitamin A is not part of that cause, right? Vitamin A doesn't cause everything. It contributes to anything that is going on. What vitamin A causes as one thing is it causes liver injury, aka cholestasis. And this is in the research. Anthony Mawson, every single Anthony Mawson paper goes over vitamin A and cholestasis. What is vitamin A? What is cholestasis? Cholestasis is damage to your liver and the bile ducts and even leaky gut that allows bile or causes bile to go backwards into your blood. And then you have this the most toxic fluid in your body called bile, causing damage everywhere it goes. So anything that causes liver injury, aka cholestasis, is related to the whole recipe of chronic disease. The whole thing. Pokies, pharmaceutical medications, people using supplements that they think are helping them that are actually damaging their liver, which is most of them. I'm going to say 98% of them. Most supplements are causing you to, if they cause you to feel better, it's because they're damaging something else in the process. They're slowing something else down, like the release of bile from your liver. You can stop releasing bile from your liver for the most part and see your symptoms go away. That's the kicker. So people think they're getting better and then they feel better until this effect stops working and then they get worse. So there's trendy fad diets that are not intended for humans at all, like, oh, I don't know, a ketogenic diet, 80% fat, high fat diets in the research cause cholestasis, guaranteed. High vitamin A diets, like, oh, I don't know, a vegan diet will cause vitamin A toxicity. There's low protein in the diets. So we're going to hit on that one. Low protein diets will cause I have a paper showing low protein diets in rats. They were about to give them birth control because they know birth control causes cholestasis already. But what they said was they gave some of the rats a low protein diet. And even before they started the experiment, the rats got cholestasis. And then I have another paper showing that when they were trying to give vitamin A toxicity to rats, the ones on the low protein diet got it the fastest. Okay? Preeclampsia. What I was taught in naturopathic medical school by one of my teachers was she said preeclampsia is the way she fixes it. She made sure that these women, especially she said it was like the teen late, like the 16, 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old girls, especially, who ate just garbage food, almost no protein, they were the ones who got preeclampsia. And how she said she could very easily fix preeclampsia in them was she got them to, between protein shakes and food, get 100 grams of protein a day. And she said, this was her statement, in every single case, the preeclampsia went away once she got those women on 100 grams of protein a day. Whether it was shakes, whether it was meat, whether it was whatever. So we can connect cholestasis and protein deficiency. We can connect vitamin A toxicity and protein deficiency. And then I have that connection between protein deficiency and preeclampsia. So do I have people make sure they get at least 50 grams total protein a day, absolute minimum? So people say, oh, you said to get 50 grams of protein a day. I said that's the minimum. That's the minimum. If you're out there and you're listening to me and you don't understand what the minimum means, you might not do well on my program. I say very specific terms. People will twist them. The absolute minimum total protein from all sources, 50 grams minimum. That's like a World Health Organization number for like starving, malnourished countries. 50 grams of protein a day to prevent protein malnutrition. We make sure we hit the minimum. And then you have, honestly, I have, so 7 grams of protein in an ounce of chicken or beef. So if you were going to get, some people say, well, are you saying 50 grams of protein from meat? And I said, no, I use very specific terms. All sources. So if you're eating grains and beans and stuff, it all counts. Okay? So, but some people say, well, I want to make sure I get that from meat by itself. Okay, well, 7 grams of protein in an ounce of chicken or beef. That would require about 7 ounces of chicken or beef in a day. That's 49 grams. Close enough. Because you're going to eat other things that have protein in them. What I've found is a lot of ladies these days are not eating, that's almost half a pound of meat. They're not eating anywhere near to half a pound of meat in a day. And then we start getting that and they start feeling more satiated and maybe their workouts start going better. And then their liver problems start getting better too. So protein deficiency is a huge thing. And you just might want to correlate that with the move from the people up top trying to move everybody towards a plant-based diet and the vegan thing and eating bugs and yada, yada, yada. That's not good for anybody. And the research is all there that shows it. But are they really after our health? You ask yourself that. Then, next question. Shell says, a lot of people think that whilst consumption of estrogen can be a health problem, that phytoestrogens are somehow good. Can I talk about that? The biggest problem with phytoestrogens came about when soy got big. Soy is hundreds to, if you go in, there was a phytoestrogen paper, I forget the name of it, where they compared like the phytoestrogens in different plants. And soy was like hundreds to thousands of times higher in phytoestrogens than everything else. Then the second place person was like hundreds of times lower than soy. Soy is the big phytoestrogen problem. Soy is in everything. If you're eating processed packaged foods, soy is probably in there. If you are eating not grass-fed beef and not pastured chicken, your organic cows and your conventional cows and your organic chickens and your conventional chickens are all being fed soy. Now, I saw somebody who's big in the keto paleo community the other day saying that in all of his research, he could find no significant difference in the quality and compounds that are found in beef, conventional beef versus grass-fed beef. That was a huge mistake on his part. Anyway. Phytoestrogens are mainly phytoestrogens are also known as, so certain bioflavonoids are phytoestrogens, and also, what's the other term I'm looking for? Polyphenols. Polyphenols, bioflavonoids, phytoestrogens. These are all Where's that paper that I had that had all that? Let me see if I can find it. Going into my Slack, which is a little research database I have, which people in the inner circle get access to, which is where I accumulate all of the research, polyflavonoid, phytoestrogen. What was the last one? It was, well, let's just see if we can find that. Well, here's an interesting quote. The compounds resveratrol, quercetin, and catechin are 3 polyphenolic compounds accounting for 70% of the red wine polyphenols. They are structurally similar to estrogen and act as both antagonists and agonists on the estrogen receptor. Resveratrol, a polyphenolic compound found in grapes and wine, is an agonist. It means it activates for the estrogen receptor. So, I'll head into that a little bit. Polyphenols. When most people talk about antioxidants, where you need lots of antioxidants, they're really talking about polyphenols for the most part. Phenol, I believe, was used in World War I as a chemical agent of warfare. So phenol was used. Polyphenol. I mean, you don't hear people going polyarsenic. Polyarsenic is good for you, but don't take arsenic. But polyarsenic would be good. Polymercury would be good. Don't take mercury. Poly-BPA would be good, but don't take BPA. Are you following me here? If phenol's bad, a bunch of phenols bound together is probably not better. The antioxidant theory is garbage. It is your liver's detox systems are oxidative systems. They use oxidation to kill things and to run the detox system. You oxidize toxins into other compounds. When you take too many antioxidants from the plant world, you shut down your detox system. You counteract it. Polyphenols are the main antioxidant in plant foods. They also give it all those bright colors. Eat a rainbow, folks. That's garbage. Humans have never eaten a rainbow until the last 15 years. Eat a Rainbow first appeared in mainstream 2005 Sesame Street. They sold it to the children first. Polyphenols are estrogenic. Your antioxidants that you're trying to get your superfoods for, your brightly colored superfoods, are estrogenic. Too many estrogens of any type, too many hormones of any type, especially synthetic ones, clog up your liver. Our liver is constantly processing byproducts of everything we're doing. Your neurotransmitters turn into aldehydes. Your liver then has to detox those aldehydes. You make hormones. Your liver then has to break down and detox those hormones. Our liver is constantly, just think of a car, right? A car makes pollution when it runs. We make pollution inside of us. Our liver is constantly breaking that down. The more you add to the liver's load, the more your liver gets broken. And if you don't figure out how to start giving it a break from all the stuff you're giving it, then it just keeps getting more broken. And then you end up with aging. And, oh, you're just getting older, just deal with it. Nope. So the question would be, do we need to obsessively avoid phytoestrogens in foods? No, you avoid the big ones. But soy, so avoid eating foods that contain soy, which pretty much means you want to eat a whole foods-based diet at the very least. That doesn't include soy foods. And if you were one to push soy into your diet for whatever reason, you would want to do it where it is one of the cultured or fermented forms of soy, which is what? Miso, natto, tempeh, and what's the tamari? If you're going to do it. If you're going to do it. Am I recommending you that culturing destroys the oh, that's the other thing, isoflavones. So isoflavones, bioflavonoids, polyphenols, phytoestrogens, just they're all basically the same things. They just give them different names. Why do they give them different names? To confuse you so you can't track it down. They're doing decoys. So you go down all these different paths. So you can't figure out the truth. But am I going to obsessively avoid phytoestrogens in foods? No, you avoid, there's that story of the professor with the rocks in the jar, the rocks in the jar, and then the gravel in the jar, and then the sand in the jar, and then the water in the jar. We work on the big rocks first. You take away the biggest things that attack your liver first. And then you start working your way down. But they've made it so there's a lot of things that are attacking your liver these days. So Jessica asks, is there any difference in the absorption of the vitamin A when we eat it with PUFAs instead of saturated fats? I have no idea. Fat in general increases your absorption of vitamin A. PUFAs are probably, because PUFAs can oxidize so much more easily than saturated fats, PUFAs are probably doubly bad. But that's for a different reason. In terms of absorption, I have no idea. Here, we'll go and we'll search vitamin A absorption, polyunsaturated, saturated, PubMed. I want vitamin A, not vitamin D. Okay, here we go. Following the hydrolysis or the chopping up of dietary retinol esters. So what they're saying is when you eat animal vitamin A, you are eating retinol palmitate and other esters of vitamin A. Retinol bound to a fatty acid ester. You don't eat retinol. You eat retinol esters like retinol palmitate. Okay, that's what they're, so following the hydrolysis, when you break it into the palmitic acid and the retinol, the free retinol is then taken up by the mucosal cell. The free retinol, resulting either from hydrolysis of dietary retinol esters or conversion of dietary provitamin A carotenoids like beta-carotene, which breaks into 2-retinaldehydes, which then can be converted into retinol, back converted, is re-esterified with long-chain, mainly saturated fatty acids by the enzyme lecithin retinol acyltransferase, LRAT, when physiological doses of vitamin A are ingested. The resulting retinol esters are incorporated with other neutral lipid esters and intact carotenoids into chylomicrons and absorbed via the lymphatics. So, what we store in our liver, I should have known this off the top of my head, but what we store in our liver is mainly saturated fatty acids bound to retinol. Retinol palmitate is like 60%, I believe, from the paper I saw. 60% of the stored vitamin A in your liver is retinol palmitate, a retinol bound to palmitic acid. So in terms of storing in your liver, saturated fatty acids are going to store more in your liver. The other thing here, lecithin retinol acyltransferase. Lecithin, where is most of the supplemental lecithin derived from? Topic we were just talking about. You heard of soy lecithin, phosphatidylcholine, same thing. Yeah. How many things have lecithin, soy lecithin added as an emulsifier? So when you eat things that have lecithin added as an emulsifier, What do you think lecithin retinol acyltransferase needs to run as an enzyme to store vitamin A in your liver? And just so you know, it's storing it in your liver so you don't poison yourself. You cannot get rid of it fast enough, so you store it in your liver so you don't poison yourself. It's not because we need it. We don't store copper in our liver because we need it. We don't store vitamin A in our liver because we need it. You can go and look up storing aluminum in the liver. We do store aluminum in our liver. We don't store it there because we need it. We don't store fat-soluble poisons in our liver because we need it. Your liver is taking the hit for you, because if you had all these things floating around in your blood, you would die. Your liver says, I will take the bullet for you. And this is why we have an epidemic of silent liver disease. Your liver doesn't complain generally until it is really, 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 really beat up. Just think, if our liver complained to us, don't you think that drinking alcohol, the first time you drank alcohol, your liver might have given you a sharp pain to tell you, don't drink alcohol. Alcohol is straight liver poison. Your liver suffers in silence so you can live your life. If you ignore it too long, it fails and you die. So, don't eat soy. Don't eat foods that contain soy. And saturated fatty acids, if you eat them with vitamin A, are going to store more in your liver. The PUFAs are going to be more of oxidized stuff. My general approach is humans are not generally designed to eat huge amounts of fat. And I've been over this. In a natural diet, in a natural I'm not even going to argue about the whatever you want to call it, the Inuit, the Eskimo. I'm not even going to argue about that diet. I'm not going to take one little piece of the entire globe and try to use that for the rest of it. That's a terrible, terrible lack of logic being used by people on that. Never seen a 100-year-old Inuit. Humans are not, we do not need high-fat diets. We are not adapted to high-fat diets. People who get benefits on it early on pay the price later. And it shows up every time. And then they wonder what could be going wrong, because how could my perfect diet be killing me now? I can't quit this diet. This is what got me better. And then they find that they can't tolerate anything other than their diet anymore. Here's a tip. If you're out there doing a diet and you are getting less tolerant of foods over time, you are not getting better, you are getting worse. You are getting less resilient. If you could do things as a kid that you can't do now, your body is less resilient. You are more damaged. You are more broken. If a diet caused you to be less tolerant, that diet broke you in some way. If your practitioner is putting you on more and more supplements over time, they are breaking you. You are getting worse. We have to use our brain to see this. If you were actually getting better, you should become more tolerant of more foods because your system is stronger and more resilient. You should be on less supplements over time because your system is getting stronger and more resilient. That is the goal of our program. And that is what we see generally. If people are coming to me saying, Dr. Smith, something, I'm getting sensitive to this food now, I start looking at it, I go, something is wrong with what you're doing. And usually they're pushing the program too hard. You can push it too hard. And then you can feel worse. This is why I tell people this is not a game. We are trying to undo decades of poisoning that is stuck in your liver. And if you try to push it too hard because you're impatient or greedy, you're going to pay a price. It sucks. I wish it could go faster, but this is the reality. Sarah asks, how does appetite come into play when overtypes are trying to detox? Does appetite play a part in toxicity / liver health? That's kind of beyond the scope of this, and appetite changes over time. Zinc status plays a huge role in appetite and we don't guess on zinc. We don't mess around with zinc dosing and just be like, everybody should take X amount of milligrams a day. I don't do that. Zinc is a huge part of appetite. B1 can be a huge part of appetite. B1 is an antidote vitamin. It's not, that's too long for something here. I do think, I will tell you from my experience here, overtype is generally, I go into this in detail in the detox program. Overtype's one of the biggest indicators of an overtype is overweight, a tendency towards either gaining weight easily or a person's already overweight. Me being, I tend towards being an overtype. My problem, I figured out with, and I'm not saying this is everybody's problem. I'm not saying this is everybody's problem at all. My problem was I simply ate too much. And people who have known me my entire life, I just simply ate too much. I was the guy going back for seconds and thirds, and I had stuck in the bodybuilding mentality of my youth. Like, you always want to eat a bit more than you should rather than less so you don't lose muscle. Like, that was the lie that I was sold as a kid by these steroid freaks who are all mostly dead now. Do I have a huge appetite? Yes. Was it to my detriment? Yes. Did my appetite ever magically fix itself on this program? No, I can go back. I can eat 3,500 calories in a day, no problem. Is that going to serve me? No. So different people's appetites are different. Appetite is too big to go into one thing. I know now about how much I should eat, and I do my best to stick with it, still listening to my intuition. But there's a ton of factors in eating. I do think that when people eat, let's put it this way, I look at body fat and liver fat. Body fat and liver fat are toxin storage depots. That is where our body puts toxins. You know, there's plastic surgeons nowadays. They say, based on their nutrition knowledge, which is not much, they'll say they can tell when somebody's been eating a healthy diet, because when they do the liposuction on the fat people, the fat that they're taking out is orange. They're taking out orange fat from fat people. Go watch my video on this channel about how vitamin A causes obesity. And then you have these doctors saying we're taking out orange fat on fat people in liposuction, but they eat healthy. That's obviously why they're there, doctor, right? Because they eat so healthy. Give me a break. Like, how do people not connect these things? So, yeah, I don't have a lot on the appetite thing. Different people's appetite is, you know, there's going to be all sorts of, you know, mental, emotional stuff involved in that and all that. It's not all just biochemical. There's just patterns like mine. I just always, as a kid, getting into bodybuilding, it was eat more. And I just had that habit. So not everybody's. Other people, like, let's say a woman who has an anorexic past has primed herself and trained herself to eat too little. And that's just training. You can get good at anything with training, whether it's good or bad. You can train yourself into anything. So there's too much on that. I think I got time for one more question. Jessica asked, I understand that long-chain fatty acids run directly to the bloodstream via the lymphatic system. So any long-chain fatty acid plus retinol ester is bypassing the liver when absorbed via the GI tract. No. If it's absorbed directly in the blood, it bypasses it. But generally, nutrients that are absorbed in the gut, this is like my large intestine diagram. Almost everything that you absorb nutrient-wise in your gut, almost, I didn't say everything, I said almost, it goes in the portal venous system. Portal means liver. It goes to the portal vein, portal liver vein, which then goes right to the liver. Your body does not like retinol esters in the blood. One of the markers of vitamin A toxicity is over 5% of the vitamin A that's in your blood is retinol esters. They used to say 10%, but they lowered it down to 5% because they started seeing that, yeah, this was a problem. So above 5% of retinol esters in the blood is bad. In the blood, what you tend to have is retinol bound to retinol-binding protein. Why would the body have to bind something to retinol to protect you from it? The people say retinol-binding protein is what delivers the vitamin A to where it's supposed to go. No, it's to protect you because you go and research free retinol in your blood. It's amazingly toxic. Free retinol in the blood is amazingly toxic. So your body binds it to retinol-binding protein. What's one of the markers of vitamin A toxicity? Another one is if you don't make enough retinol-binding protein relative to the retinol. So you have too much free retinol floating around. So let's see. Too many retinol esters in the blood is a problem. Too much free retinol that's not bound to retinol-binding protein is a problem. If you go and you look up carotenemia and the diseases associated with, like one of the diseases they associate with carotenemia, excess carotenoids in the blood where people like turn orange, is diabetes. So we have too many carotenoids in the blood, but then they'll say, wait, we tend to find carotenemia. We can find carotenemia and diabetes together. And high carotenoids in the blood is kind of a hallmark of diabetes, just so you know. But then they'll say, well, the carotenoids are obviously not causing the diabetes. There's no connection here. Just look the other way. Go, no. This couldn't possibly be connected. And you go, wait. Let me find that. Let me find that list. Carotenemia diseases PubMed. Here it is. Carotenemia, a review. Carotenemia is a benign condition. Vitamin A poisoning does not occur despite massive doses of carotene because the conversion of carotene to vitamin A is slow. Here we go. Hypothyroidism, diabetes mellitus, hepatic liver, and renal kidney diseases may be associated with carotenemia, but are not caused by ingestion of carotene. Wow. How stupid do they have to think we are? Oh, look here, folks. Hypothyroidism. Is there a problem with hypothyroidism today? Diabetes mellitus. That one either. Liver problems. I believe I saw a quote saying that hospitals expected liver conditions coming in to be increased by like an extra 50% in the next year or two. And kidney diseases may be associated with carotenemia, but are not caused by ingestion of carotene. How do you get carotenemia in the first place? By eating carotenoids. That's the only way it happens. So how would you get high carotenoids in the blood other than ingestion of carotene? How stupid do they think you are that we would believe this? You're totally orange. That's not a normal state. You have high carotenoids in your blood. You eat tons of high carotenoid vegetables because you want to eat a rainbow and you want the antioxidants and you want the polyphenols, but your health conditions that go along with this could not possibly be associated with consuming all of that stuff that is changing your blood, that is changing your skin. Are you serious? And then there's people out there who will defend that. Hope asks, is there a way to become pregnant and not become cholestatic? What would you do to fix that? I generally, what I've read in the research as to why they think cholestasis happens in pregnant women is the increase in hormones to maintain the pregnancy. It doesn't matter if they're natural hormones that the person makes. The liver still has to deal with it. That's the thing that we just have to think of. It's just, what is the liver dealing with and how can we lower the load? We don't want the body to lower its own hormones. That would be counterproductive. So what do we want to do? We want to remove everything else. I can tell you, I have multiple women on the program who have been pregnant before they worked with this stuff, and they've gotten pregnant after they worked with this stuff. they nearly always, to the person, say, the pregnancies after I started doing this were so much easier. My kid's healthier. Maybe you've been out there, for those of you people who were before, maybe you're just hearing this now, or you know this from your kids that you had before you started working with this stuff. A lot of women notice that their first child is often the healthiest, and each child after is sicker and sicker. Why is that? Because the mother and her liver were getting sicker and sicker and sicker over time, which makes for a sicker child. And then we're starting to get women who have been doing this long enough. I've only been doing this for 3 years, so it's hard to get a lot of kids, from clients and patients in 3 years. But we are seeing women saying their pregnancies are easier. And I'm pretty sure we've had at least one who said that her other kids were born unhealthy and this one was born healthier. So how do we fix it? We fix the vitamin A problem. We're trying to fix the liver with proper nutrition, avoiding toxins. Again, give the body what it needs, help the body get rid of what it doesn't want, and then get the heck out of the way. That's what we do. How do we fix that? I know one of the things, how do we know that it's a bile problem? What is one of the things that they've given pregnant women with cholestasis that seems to help their symptoms? They give them charcoal. What does charcoal do? Charcoal binds to toxic bile acids. It lowers the bile load on the system. You have, I have, we have, everybody has chronic disease because of liver injury. Chronic disease is due to liver injury and cholestasis and toxic bile getting into your blood and all the things that toxic bile contains. Vitamin A, copper, manganese, every single fat-soluble toxin you've ever been exposed to in your life, iron, aluminum, tin, nickel, mercury, cadmium, you name it, you can probably find that it's excreted in the bile. If you excrete it in the bile, but that bile goes backwards into your blood, do you realize you just poisoned yourself? How do we fix it? We fix the liver, we fix the bile ducts, we fix the leaky gut. Most of this comes about by we make the liver less toxic, which makes the bile less toxic, which means that we can fix the bile ducts so that the bile doesn't escape, which means that the toxic bile is not causing your leaky gut anymore, which means the gut can heal, so you stop getting bile into your blood, and then all of a sudden problems just go away. I don't treat any specific disease other than I fix the liver. And then all these other diseases just seem to fade away on their own. So, another good one, I think. Hope you all enjoyed it. It is 9:09. I got to get on my inner circle in like 6 minutes. So hope you all enjoyed it. I will get to more questions next week. Thank you for all the questions today. And come on over and see us at nutritiondetective.com. If you want to work with me, that's the best work I can give you. If you want the do-it-yourself program, that's the Love Your Liver program. We do, if you want to subscribe to my different social media stuff, we're going to be having a cool little announcement here soon. So you may want to do that. Otherwise, have a great weekend. I will see you all next week. Bye now.